this morning I'm talking to Hannah Richell. Hannah has written a wonderful story called Secrets of the Tides. Now, Hannah grew up in the UK and Canada, and she's worked in the book industry and the film industry. Hannah, what made you decide that you'd like to write a novel?
Well, I think it was a journey for me that really grew out of motherhood. So it was when I stepped away from the book publishing world and went on maternity leave that I first started to think about writing. And so it began for me as a sort of personal project where I was at home with a baby, and it was just something that I started to do for me, really, to keep my brain going while I was at home.
Now, you talked about having a baby, writing a novel. I know mothers will say, my goodness, how on earth did you do that?
Well, I was probably quite lucky in that my son was quite a good sleeper. He wasn't brilliant, but he was quite a good sleeper. And I think in the early days of the baby, there are quite a few moments where a young baby sleeps. And so for me, I used those moments where I put him down for his naps to go to the kitchen table and start writing. And probably the dishes and the laundry and the house suffered, but it was something that I really felt I just had a sort of need in me to do it. And it's funny how the writing naturally sort of fell into a rhythm in the way that our lives, you know, me and my son together, it sort of just kind of worked in a funny way.
Great. Now, also, when I read your book, I was absolutely fascinated because I could picture cliff tops, this wonderful house on the edge of the cliff. Did you have a building, a house in mind when you wrote that? Because you really feel a sense of place is really fantastic in your novel.
Thank you. It wasn't so much a house, but it was definitely a place that I was going to in my head. And for me, Dorset felt like the absolute right place to locate the story of the Tide family, because I'd spent a lot of time in Dorset as a young girl. My grandparents used to have a house up on the Jurassic Coast in a small town called Seatown. So I used that location as inspiration, and I fictionalised it in my novel and turned it into Summertown. But I weave a lot of the echoes of those days into the writing, and the Clifftops house itself is completely fictional. I made that one up. There is no big white house up on the cliffs overlooking the Lyme Bay area as far as I know. But for me it was an amazing, liberating experience just to kind of picture this house and then furnish it with beautiful antiques and possessions. And I really wanted the reader, as they read Secrets of the Tides, to be able to kind of feel as if they were walking through the house and wandering through the garden and then crunching along the pebbly beach. It was something that, for me, books with a sense of place have always been the kind of novels that I love to read. So it was something that I set out to do in my writing.
Well, you certainly did it for me. I was there.
Oh,
and now Dora, one of the girls that grew up in Clifftops, is just a wonderful character. And I felt as I was reading it, I was really batting for her. How did you come to write the characters of the family?
So Dora is an interesting one. She was always the starting point for me. She's this sort of young woman, and she's in her 20s. She's living in London with her boyfriend when you first meet her. And her journey is that she discovers she's pregnant right at the start of the book, and that sends her looking back at her past to something that she's never really dealt with. And Dora, I think, sort of grew partly, she's probably the character who's most like me in that she's the middle child in a family. She's just discovered she's pregnant, and obviously I was writing the story as a new mum myself. So I think a lot of the things she experiences and feels are kind of wrapped up in my own emotional journey at that time. And so, yeah, I think Dora sort of naturally came to me, and I wanted to write a sort of young, quite modern woman. I like to read stories where people feel quite real. And so Dora, I wanted her to be young and contemporary and going on quite a real journey. And her mother and her sister, who are the other two central female characters to this story. Well, Helen's quite a controversial character, and I know
Absolutely.
Some people will probably have a very strong reaction to her and some of the choices she makes in the novel, but I wanted, with all the female characters, there to be layers of grey rather than just to be black and white, good and bad, because I don't think that's how people are in real life. So I wanted to kind of explore both the light and the shade and the characters as I went. So I think all three women have their good sides and their bad sides as well, which hopefully come through in the story.
Hannah, it's a great story. It reminds me of Kate Morton too, as I read it, who's a great Australian writer.
Yeah, I love her.
Good luck with it,
Thank you.
I'm certainly going to enjoy selling it to our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you.